Welcome. I'm Jacob. I'm the host of It's Just a Game podcast. I'm here joined with my co-hosts, Porter and James. You guys want to say hi?
Hi, I'm James.
Greetings. Sorry, I interrupted you, but greetings. I'm Porter.
Hi, Porter. Hi, James.
Hi.
We've been playing some games recently, and one of the most constant games we've been playing is Forza Horizon 5. And one question I just kind of wanted us to wonder and think about as we talk about Forza is why do people play Forza Horizon 5? Like, what is the significant, thing where people are like, you know what, today I'm feeling like I want to play Forza. Sounds fun. And we can kind of just talk through that. And it might seem like a basic question, but I feel like there's a lot of more deeper meanings, especially with, friend groups and people have a passion for cars and appreciation for cars, and also people who love just kind of that feel, open road feel, go on any adventure you want, make cars however you want. I feel like there's a lot of things that go into this, and I just wanted to ask you guys what your thoughts were on it too. Why do people play Forza? What is the appeal?
I think there are many reasons. I think that some people hop on it sometimes for more mellow. In that game you can drive a car wherever. It's not always racing, which I think is a good aspect of it.
Yeah, the horizons are it's an open kind of playing field.
Yeah. I think the adrenaline rush is another aspect of playing Forza. You can go through a story mode and race whatever, or just race with your friends.
I'd like to add, you get on Forza because driving your car every day is not fun. But driving the specific kind of car is fun, and in racing, and like James said, just driving around, cruising around, because they go through so much effort in one, scanning the cars to get them to look to the best of their abilities, and also get as many car sounds as they possibly can so that you really feel like you were driving this car, regardless of if you have a steering wheel or not. And so,
Yeah, I think you can get the full effect of having fun driving a car without a steering wheel.
yeah,
That game is really immersive. It really puts you in just kind of the world of itself. So I really like that. Getting on because I want to do this kind of aspect, which is basically I like to think a simplified answer to the question, but I know there's more meat to the bone that we can chew off. So what is, like, for you, Porter, you get on because there's challenges you can do, really stupid ones sometimes, like the PR stunts.
mm-hmm.
But there's challenges you can do to get points, to get cars that are available for a certain period of time, depending on the season, and appeals to you. Not so much James and I. Sometimes James, I don't know, but I don't really do the challenges. I don't grind out challenges as much or at all even. Why do you, like, specifically? What is it about certain cars that just kind of spark that fun in you?
Well, it's for me. It's the whole me still getting into cars and not knowing stuff about the cars. And while it's not like I get the car and they just start telling me about the whole thing, I get to just learn like how it drives and how it looks. And it's also just satisfying because that's in the game. That is like, and many games do it. It's almost exclusive to that. Like once you complete it, you'll get that car, and that's the only way you can get it. Because someone can't just go to the. Someone can't just buy it. That's the one way to do it, and so you kind of feel like the other players are like, oh, I got this car, and you
It
don't.
has
And also,
value.
yeah, and you also just I also just like to learn stuff about anything I can because it's a very informational game, not only with cars but the location. Like you learn a lot about Mexico, which is where the newest one is, and you learn about like even like down to the culture and like and then terrain obviously, and it's just it's very satisfying and like worth the grind. I just enjoy grinding as long as I'm getting.
Yeah,
What's
something.
worth it.
Yeah, your work's worth it. I really enjoy. Okay, I feel like Forza's made me appreciate cars a lot more, which is something I've noticed a lot of people like our age, a little bit older, people are hating cars, and it's not and I'm not trying to bring this into any political thing at all, but I feel like there's been a deep lack of appreciation for cars because they're one of the most greatest inventions that man has made. It is the wheel at its finest, in my opinion, and it's really cars are really quite brilliant. And before I wasn't like a hater of cars, I just never was interested in it. And it's interesting because when you guys introduced me, especially you both, um, into Forza Horizon 4, it was also like, okay, cars are like, there's more to cars than just wheels and metal in a window. It's a passion, it's a love, it's a person, and we all have our types of cars we like. And for me, I especially was like, wow, this is like I in the Forza Horizon 4 game, I learned that I really like the Senna McLaren. It was the cover car. I also got a really cool song out of it, A Moment Apart. And, just that song playing with, the Senna McLaren driving by, with the seasons changing, that was really, like, it was just kind of like a spark almost inside my head. That was like, whoa, this is, you know, cars are cool. You get to experience it. You get to see it, even if you'll never probably see one in your entire life. I think it's really quite brilliant.
One reason I also like brings a big aspect of why I think Forza adds that sense of being able to do things you never really do.
Oh, for sure.
Like what you just said about the Senna McLaren. One of the reasons I like to play Forza is you two know that I am not into really fast cars in real life. It's just not my interest. But in this game, it allows me to use them in a different way other than taking out the price aspect of cars and letting me crash into walls at whatever speed I want.
Yeah.
Letting me own as many cars as I want. It adds that.
It's
Takes
like
away the sense of reality.
Yeah, it's a life that it's a window into a life that you've never really probably, and I mean for all of us, will really see, since kind of getting to a point where you just have millions of dollars is not something you just eventually get to. It's a really work in progress, and so having the game just kind of give that just little window.
Yeah, like it's very good at doing the borderline because it does very realistic things, making the cars look realistic, making everything look realistic, but also doing a lot. Because for me, I don't want to play a game that's just like extremely realistic, because then like
It's
the
almost,
whole point of a game for me is doing something that I cannot do, and in my opinion, it does it very well to where it gives you some realistic aspects. But yeah, like you have an unlimited garage, you can earn money, but there's like, it's just like,
yeah.
it's not like you have to work for it.
But when you
that's
get it, it's
part of
like
the
here's
game.
like $100,000, and
Exactly, like
and yeah,
it's very unrealistic in that sense because it just needs to be, or else even with all these cars, it would very well be kind of a boring.
Isn't that kind of what like GTA is almost like, where they have like I don't know. I know nothing
I don't
of
get GTA.
Yeah.
Even though I don't know, to me GTA, even though I'm sure
People,
GTA is super
yeah.
unrealistic, I don't get the appeal.
I've always like I've had some people who are like, there's nothing wrong if you like playing GTA. It's just you can't you can't convince me it's a car game either. I don't know. That's a whole tangent for another thing. But going to kind of the unrealistic thing. One of the things we've been doing recently was the trial games, and that's one of the like most unrealistic thing you could do. Just the races in general and what you can do to the cars, because like take the Senna McLaren for example. It's a rear wheel, track car, track toy, and we're able to, and with the cars, you had the Mercedes,
AMG project.
right, and you had the
Zenvo.
oh yeah, he had the
TSRS.
Zenvo, the wing that waves at you from behind.
Yeah, the wing that.
But so we have these cars, and they're all like super, super just sportsy racing supercars. These just cars that are like, whoa, these are like respected cars. And we're able to just give them all-wheel drive, give them rally suspension, off-roading tires, and then put them through some of the hardest roughing terrain ever. That's awesome, in my opinion. That's super cool.
Yeah, and for me, like, I just thought of it now. Another thing is that there are people who do kind of want like a very realistic, and the game also allows you to do that with the settings. Like, you can even turn on simulation to where your car actually gets affected by what you do.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you have to go to the gas stations, because no one wants to do that in real life or a game. That I don't know why anyone would want to do that. That's not fun. But like, you can turn on, and you can you can just turn on manual, so like it's just a little more realistic.
Right.
Even though you're playing on a controller, you're doing manual, and then once you get a steering wheel and stuff, you can do manual with clutch to just get as realistic as possible. And I feel like probably people want to do that mainly just because
the feel
gas.
Yeah.
That too. Well, yeah, that just gas. Like you can't joyride forever. You're gonna run out of gas.
Yeah.
But with this, there's no gas, so you can joyride for hours.
And with the wheel, it's really fun to just because it brings the simulation feeling that we talked about more so. You're eventually now driving the car with a wheel and either a 6-speed or whatever transmission you have, and you got the clutch, the brake, and the gas, and that just like it puts something in the brain that's like, oh, this is I'm like I'm changing gears while I'm driving my car. This is awesome. I feel like I'm really into the game, and that's something I think is really cool as well. That can just bring in that immersive thing.
I was talking to my cousin this last summer, and it was interesting because he was telling me he actually learned, or at least understood the basic grasp of how a manual worked with Forza.
Yeah,
because he bought a manual for his
Yeah.
first car this last summer, and it's interesting to hear how Forza, video game.
we do not recommend playing Forza that learn how to drive a manual.
Oh yeah, probably not, but it would help you. From what I understood him telling me,
It got the muscle memory for me, especially because I have the 6-speed, which, funny enough, is the exact speed as the Corvette I have, real life. Not trying to brag here. I'm making a point where Forza gave me that muscle memory of hitting the clutch, changing gear, then pushing the gas and releasing the clutch. So you can, and it's that muscle memory that eventually I got. And then when my dad taught me more specifics and more how to do it, it was like, okay, yeah, I kind of know what this feels like. It's not like, oh yeah, I know how to drive a manual. It's like I kind of have the memory. Like I know that I need to put the clutch in to change gear. I can't, and so I feel like that's a fun big hill.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I feel like there's just like an endless amount of enhancements that I don't know, maybe not everyone knows about, but you can even get like cages that like go like literally move if you crash and like move all around, like actually makes it so that you feel like literally
Yeah.
like feel like you're, and just it feels like every day there's just like a new thing that just enhances, like trying to make it literally as realistic as possible besides just putting you in the actual car.
Yeah.
Because some of these cars are millions and millions of dollars.
If someone saw you off-roading, they would be mad.
Like Ferrari.
Speaking of Ferrari.
Ferrari
wants to just use the bone stock.
We're going to try to talk about, like we know what we're talking about cars, but at least, I don't know about you two, but I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'm going to act like it.
I know nothing either. I'm not like a huge like, oh yeah, this bad boy's got, I'm not gonna go off on a on a tangent about a car.
Yeah.
I definitely am more of the looks, how it looks, and I guess kind of how a car feels,
Sounds,
movement, and whatnot. It never is mileage issue. It never crosses. Even in real life, when I'm thinking about cars, it's kind of a bad thing where I'm like, oh yeah, I need to think about mileage.
I'm
Actually,
definitely that guy. But that brings
Least
it back
we
to
got
the video games. That's kind of where the adds to me. I would like to learn more
For sure, yeah,
what makes a car function.
for sure.
Maybe that's something I should put more depth into when playing this game. But I don't know. I got time. So.
You got time.
yeah, and this is like just for all of the games, is they definitely can teach you stuff about the car. Just something. Forza 3, every time you would buy a new car, they had a character in the game named Warren, who was just like this crazy Australian guy, because it was set in Australia, which was great. But anyway, every time you would buy a car, it would kind of do this flashlight photo, like showing you kind of a bunch of different sides of the car, really quick. And then you'd be in this little mode where you're kind of like the camera, and you can kind of just go. You're not in the car is just there, and you can go all around and look at the front, look at the sides, look at the back, just look at the top, like just look everywhere into the car, and you can even open the hood, depending if the car can't, then I don't know, it can't, but like it opens the hood, you can see the engine and everything. You can look in the interior and stuff, and just all that stuff. And every time you would buy a new car, while you were doing that, he would be talking to you about the car, like any significant like facts, what it was like known for, if it was like good or bad. Most of the time, he would find anything he could to say something good about it, because in a game like that, they're gonna want to, in order to keep the car with them to continue to be in other games, they're probably not gonna want to say bad things about the car. But anyway, like, and I really miss that. Like, I really like, because it's very like interesting. Even if you're not learning about the real insides of the car, you learn about things it's done, like races it's won.
Yeah.
And just I don't know. You get like enough to where you might want to become interested.
Right.
Just all from the game.
So, another thing I wanted to talk about is kind of how we all became closer friends. Forza Horizon 4. Great game.
Good
Yeah.
old UK.
Good old UK. And it was the first to do seasons, right? Like, first game
Yeah,
to do
seasons was like the brand, because they try to bring a brand new feature to every single game, and that was the new feature.
Yeah,
The
the new
four was
feature.
every
Seasons.
week the map would change, like weather-wise.
Weather-wise, yeah. And I think back, and we've had great moments too, but some of my favorite moments with us three was just in Horizon 4, driving around and being absolutely ridiculous, total just numbskulls all around. We weren't trying to be funny or be smart or have knowledge over the other or anything. It was just fun. It was just pure fun and a way we could all connect, because it was because we all, I met James through, you, Porter, and we talked on Discord, obviously, on a call, and we played other games that weren't very, it was like, we were together, but it was never us. It was always us and versus them. But then it was just, Horizon 4 got just us three, and us three to do races, and us three to do vinyl designs, and us three to do themes and challenges. And we would get angry, not like actually angry, but we would get, frustrated with each other in a very joking way. Like, oh, frick you, how'd you push me into the wall? Why'd you do that? So, stuff like that. And it made us comfortable with each other to be able to joke around more, to talk to each other about our lives. And I think it was a really good breaking that ice of being friends. Because I think before we were all like, we would say, oh yeah, James is my friend, but, at the time I wouldn't have called him my best friend. Porter and I were just becoming friends, and, we were still trying to, it was that kind of friendly kind of thing where you're just trying to be nice and, funny, but in a very kind way, almost. And then it was like with you, but then in Horizon 4, with the racing and the themes and whatnot, and kind of the joking, that really, I guess, made us comfortable with each other. And I think that's that was a really fun thing, and I'm sure it helped with other people too in that sense, where friends got online to just hang out and play, and for us that was a major thing that helped a lot.
Yeah. Um, I would like to think of it. This might just sound like a random tangent because with me, I basically started with Forza 3 like barely. Like I played Forza 3 like at my cousin's house. I didn't ever own it, and then 4 was announced basically not too soon after. So like I had played 3, like done. I had done enough stuff. I had owned like cars and all that jazz. But 4 was also kind of like where I like really started. And what I would like to think of it is like if you think about it, like we all like even though yeah I had played the previous, we all kind of like learned it together like fully, you know.
Yeah,
And I feel like one thing that like the reason it like did kind of what it's done now is because it's kind of like in school you realize how many school friends you have because you're all there sitting
and
there
yeah,
learning something regardless if you want to or not.
and
It's a little different, and
it can be fun.
it
Yeah,
can be fun, and it can bring you together, and like that's just me though, because I
I
just
like
am
that.
now
Yeah,
remembering how many school friends I have, because you just are you gotta do stuff with them,
yeah,
and that can bring you. I mean, it depends. It all depends on how the both of you continue to do it, but I don't know what it is, but like,
yeah,
because then sometimes that could be the friend for the rest of your life.
yeah.
Well, you hear about people who make friendships completely online and they never meet each other. For us,
That was us, me and you.
But like for a while, you guys didn't know what
We
each
were
other looked
online
like. Like
friends.
we had a little fun game where you two tried to
Yeah,
guess what each other looked
we
like,
both assumed we were white,
and
and it was funny.
it was very fun and very interesting.
yeah. But I mean, I guess this is kind of added on to what you were saying, Jacob. It's an added tool of our friendship, and for it to be something that linked us all together, it's be great.
It is great.
No
Yeah.
matter a common interest, no matter what, how it interests us, it's a common
It
interest.
was the kind, yeah.
So that's something I really appreciate about Forza friendship.
And also me and you, James, like we had known what each other looked like, but like since you live far enough away to where like I can't just go to your house or you can't just go to my house. Even though we did, like the only difference, I feel like honestly the only difference between me and you and Jacob was you and Jacob didn't know what each other looked like. You became friends. I knew what you looked like. Like that's how we kind of became, you know, which I think is very interesting. And yeah, there's people who like I have a friend who plays with people who live in Washington, and he's played with them for 5+ years, and he's never met them before because you can't just go to
You
Washington.
can't just go to Washington.
And I don't know what that just blows my mind, and it even blows my mind like the friendship that we have, just because for the longest time we just would play or call or basically just be online, I guess. And very interesting. And Forza, yeah, like you said, it was a very, and it kind of makes me like that. Also, like it makes Forza kind of like I kind of like put it on a pedestal because it's very special. The fact that something like that
Could have
can
an
do
effect,
that.
yeah, for sure. That's me as well. I definitely I probably do value it more than I should, but it definitely is something I'm very grateful for. Even and that's the whole reason why it's called it's just a game, because someone with an outside perspective will say it's just a game, it's just a car game, but it's so much more to that to us, and because it created a friendship, it created a bond between all of us, a way where we can just relate to each other and have fun and really just connect through just cars and through just races and designs and like Border will make a cool design, I'll make a cool design, James will make a cool design, and we'll all be like, oh yeah, I like your car, and we're like, I like what you did with that and the stripes, and or I like what you did with the fire, or stuff like that, and that just it creates more of a friendship kind of thing, and that I really appreciate Forza for doing that, and it's kind of the reason why I feel like when I want to play Forza, I don't really just want to play by myself, which I do occasionally, but I want to play with my friends that I made this bond with, this really awesome friendship that we have. And, and I feel like that's a big reason why I personally want to play Forza.
Yeah, it's a very dual purpose game. If it definitely depends on the type of person you are, but it is a game that you can, like, you're just a loner, but you just really love cars. It's a game that you can play alone, but it's like also friendly. That's what I'm gonna say, because it's very it's very because and even though we don't do it, like they add actual games like you can play like zombie tag or capture the flag, where you put a literal like big old flag on the back of your car and you try to get to the other side. And King of the Hill, like people start with the crown and you just try to like just games that like you kind of are like, oh yeah, I guess that could work with cars.
Yeah.
But also like while it would work with cars, like you can't just like get all your friends to get all your cars, because one, it's probably illegal of most places where you find like even if you get it all figured out, you're probably not going to find a place where you won't get the cops called on you. But like there are games that you wouldn't think of, but they work for the game, and like they offer a lot to the game that allows you to do things with friends. But then they also know that not everyone has friends. Sad story, but true. But they also try to give them some stuff so that they won't leave the game.
There's always something you can do.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff you can do. It all just
then I feel like kind of near the end of like when Forza 5 was announced, Horizon 5, that gave an excitement, and then the game was out, and then Forza Horizon 5, and then I feel like this was kind of like Forza 4 was like, okay, you learned from school. Forza Horizon 5 was like, okay, now apply it to your daily life, but you're still learning. Like it's not like it's not like, oh yeah, you're all done learning. There's still a lot you're learning from it, but now it's like test what you've learned and go crazy with it. And I think one of the biggest things we've done with that is the designs we've done, vinyl designs and the themes that we do. Because at one point when we were playing, Forza 5 was getting on, and then the question was, what's the theme? What's the theme? What are we making our cars? And the road race, and we would compare it to movies and whatnot, And one of the biggest ones that come to mind, the cars designs we did. And I feel like these ones were some of the funnest designs ever. And also the kind of the start of the long stretch of designs we made. So I was wondering if we could just talk about some of the cool, sorry, my legs asleep. Cool designs we did, kind of starting with the cars one. I know you, James. You suffered trying to make the Chick Hicks car.
Yeah, that figured. Yeah, I made two Chick Hicks cars.
That's right. Yeah,
the older one and
the older one, and then
but we only had to do the thing one time, right? The thing, the suffering thing we're about to talking about.
Yeah.
Something. Oh yeah, I had to put that hundreds of stickers on that car.
If you live under a rock, Chick Hicks is the green guy in cars covered in stickers. And we wanted to, we didn't want to be like, oh, we'll use someone else's thing that they've made. Like, this is where we kind of, like Jacob said, we kind of upped our game. And we're like, well, let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
With, like, from all the things we had done in 4, like, even starting with just little shapes, to eventually themes, to now, like, trying to recreate actual cars.
And
stuff.
Yeah.
It was very much different process, because, like, you're not kind of, like, you can use it, but, like, you're not really trying to use, like, the whole creative part of your brain, because, like, you're just like, all right, I'm trying to come up with something that might look cool. This, like, you have something to work with, but yet like it's a big thing and there's a lot to it. But you're more working your like experience part now to try to make that thing, like, because you want to try to make it to the best of it. So it was definitely a new, while we were still doing the whole design thing, it was a very new thing and a very fun thing, especially like after we finished, because then we started doing the races to just see who would win. So.
Yeah, sure. What do you did the king?
The king, yeah. The blue guy.
The blue guy. And then I did Lightning McQueen in the Corvette, which is I did. You guys went like totally with the movie, like everything to like the details, and I did an off-brand Lightning McQueen because you know how McQueen's like sponsor is Rusty's, and I did Shell, the gas company. So I think that was pretty funny too.
I liked your McQueen.
Yeah, it was a good for an off brand. Yeah, I definitely.
Right.
We did a fun job. I loved your Dynaco design too. That was really cool.
That was a process.
And then I also loved your kind of the classic Dynaco, like if it was like way older, where it's just like instead of there's the dinosaur and
like the actual.
Yeah, it was just a strip of red and then it's a Dynaco on it. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Just to like give it that older feel, and then we also gave it that rust kind of look too. And that's another thing, the photos. I know James hates taking photos, but I'm glad we did take these pictures because they're really fun. Yeah, there's your Dynaco.
Yeah. Rust.
You could take cool pictures of your cars, and I don't know. I loved having all three of our cars in these cool positions, and then taking the picture and like, oh yeah, and then being able to post it on like an Instagram and being like, oh yeah, look, me and my friends, we're so cool. just kind of that. I know Porter really especially loved these cars.
Yes, the Cars 3, Doc Hudson's friends, a lot of words, but good old-fashioned cars like Ford Deluxes and Ford F-100s and those two cars. And just doing what they did in the movies and, just drive them wherever the frick we wanted, including off-road. Because the way the car looked with the dirt on it, the way the car drove, the way the car just sounded going through the dirt. And then also, very much the pictures are very, just because we would, think them out. We'd be like, all right, we're going to get in these positions and make it look like, or if we were actually doing it, we'd take a picture, or we'd make it look like we were. We honestly would just do a full-on...
Like this, and I'm going to put it...
Yeah.
But, this picture specifically, it looks like we're all driving.
Just driving off.
Yeah, and
a full-blown photo shoot, basically.
Yeah, it was a full-blown photo shoot.
And that actually, ended up making me... Because out of all... one thing that I'm, maybe... I don't know, not super... I like for the only cars I don't like are just the cars you see every day. That's mainly because you see them every day. So, it's but, usually if I had, with, kind of, the higher class cars, basically the ones in this game, because they, they try to put all the cars that are cool into the game. If I had to pick one, kind of, 1950s, stuff, cars that looked like that, all those cars at the time, I never hated them, but they always were kind of, I wasn't the biggest fan of them, but this literally made me appreciate them more and ended up liking them just as much as I like most cars. Just because of what I'd done in the game to the car changed how I thought of the whole genre of that, or whole decade of cars. Still don't know them all, but if I see one, I'll think it's cool now.
Yeah, because we're used to 2015 to 2020 cars that are automatic or and super fast, and these things were old, retro, and they just felt like they belonged in
Very
the race
scary,
we were doing. Yeah,
very dangerous.
It was a risk, and it's because a lot of the cars now are super safe, which is good.
Yeah.
Good for the driver. We want people
Just
to be
bad
safe.
for the looks.
Yeah, and back then cars were just it was the imagination of whoever the manufacturers like oh we want to make this car this long
and also just what we need, what the people needed. At the end of the day, like that's kind of what a car was for. And while that has changed, I would say like cars have just shaped the world really.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Like you said with like the wheel thing, like it's kind of like you think about it, and I feel like it's just hard not to say in some way that cars have changed the world.
Oh, they definitely have.
Like sure, like oh, what if there are no cars? Oh, we'd have trains. Oh, we'd have this. But like well, that's a whole nother can of worms. While they are all vehicles, they're all their own little can of worms. Trains, boats, planes, helicopters. They're all vehicles. But I don't know
Like
how to really
only
explain it.
one of those is something that everyday person can enjoy, and that's the car.
Yeah, like
because planes, that's you can't really fly a plane unless driver's license, but
board a plane.
Yeah, get
Ticket.
a plane. Yeah, then a train. Trains are very fixed positions, and then a boat. That's water. And I'm not trying to trash on any of these. If you like any of them, that's great. But it's the car
They all
that
have their own purposes.
Yeah.
That's why they were built. Boats. I mean, I don't know.
But it was the car you saw in the old pictures of teenagers driving to the theaters, and it soon became the car. Your grandma was like, "Oh yes, I took my Impala to the theaters all the time,"
Yeah.
And you see young grandma, sitting there with her group of friends in the Impala, having the time of their lives, and then it soon became just the old classic Impala that was like super retro, super cool, and then gave that made it so our generation would appreciate it, would see it more than just this gas-eating machine. It was a machine that brought fun to people, that put a smile on the face, that when you saw it, you thought of the movies, you thought of going to the ice cream shop, you thought of going to, even scary places like the doctor almost, and it just has these memories to it. And then we can appreciate that and see the memories and be like, oh, that would have been so cool to like drive up into the movies and this really classic Corvette. That would be so fun. My classic, Impala, going up into the theaters and just leaving and then being like, oh yeah, that's my Impala right there. That's mine. Having that really classic vintage look and that kind of give that imagination almost, and then we're able to apply it in Forza to where we're like, oh yeah, now we can have this. We can't go to the movies, but we can sure race it and appreciate the fact that it existed in real life.
Yeah, the vintage cars definitely are a big thing because they're vintage cars, so they're not everywhere. Like they're even more rare than
some of the supercars
and stuff. So that they're just the fact that they're just so easily accessible. You can just be able to get into them and just kind of look at all about them. And another thing is that's crazy is while I'm sure people back then still thought the cars were cool, but a lot of people also are probably just oh yeah, I had an Impala, because at that time those were the cars that you would see every day, so it's like how I am now, but with that, with them then they would be like, oh yeah, I had this car,
Yeah.
I see a bunch of Impalas or whatever car, it was a normal
Ford
day
Mustangs,
car for them.
Yeah.
While some, I'm sure, like I said, some of them are, because all those cars were quick, but yeah, they thought of them being the normal day cars, so they kind of, so yeah, I feel like our generation is kind of
the one that is able
to be like, these are cool.
It's appreciating
bring them back.
Yeah, the history.
Restore them.
Yeah.
And I also feel like even throughout the time, cars have also done what I had said about boats are built for a different reason than cars. Cars themselves, it's oh, this car is built to do this, and this car is built to be really safe. Or this car, we're just trying. It's an electric car, and we're trying to make it be as good as these cars, just while it being electric and cars have just like changed so much, and there's just a whole world to them that like you can literally learn about your whole life. Like there's people who just have been with cars like not like have learned about cars all their lives, and there's just so much to learn.
Yeah, and I
Forza's a little stepping stone.
for sure. I love that there really are people that can just show you the massive appreciation for cars, and that's one thing I want to try to make a goal, because I have friends that hate cars. Like they're so insistent on riding a bike, and all power to them to do what they want. But there's something that should be appreciated about them than just the emissions that they give off. It should be the fact that they shaped the world too. They literally shaped the world of roads and of places of buildings. You built your house next to the road, so it's easier.
Cars literally brought us to where we are now.
Yeah,
A lot of things have cars is one of them.
yeah.
Houses, a long list of things, and cars is one of them. Cars is a very important one.
Yeah, and there's some cars that just have so much character to them. They're a thing that can make you feel happy. And it's kind of weird. That's like, oh, it's just an object, but it's more than that. It's almost a friend. Someone that you can rely on. Something that will always be able to take you somewhere. And that's a massive thing I like about cars is there's always kind of an adventure aspect to a car.
Yeah, like Christine, the Plymouth Fury. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Or, if we want to get more specific, there's a person by the name of Richard Hammond who has this car by the manufacturer that it's pretty unknown. I didn't know it until Forza. It's Opel. I don't know how to spell it. Opel. I don't even know. I don't know what the model of the car is, but he got one and he had done a lot of things to it and decided that he liked it, and he named it Oliver. So, and that's kind of what I thought of when he said it's like a friend, because he literally he calls it Oliver. He doesn't call it like the Opel, but whatever. He calls it Oliver. And yeah, like I feel like cars. Like, once you really get to appreciate cars, that's what they do to you, is make you feel more connected to them, give more life to them. They have more life to them, to you, from what you gain.
It's definitely a lifestyle. And it's a lifestyle depending on whatever cars you're into. The thing I'm really into is Land Cruisers. Yeah. If you're into the community of Land Cruisers, if you own one, which I hope I can own one soon, it's its own lifestyle, its own community that appreciates this vehicle, this model, whatever. It's a whole manufacturer. It can be that too.
Yeah, it can work for anything, but yeah, like there's groups of people online that like, we like this car. Any information like it brings like with Forza did. This is just cars in general, and since cars are in Forza, it works the same way cars can bring people together. There's groups of people online. They're like, anything about this car, bring it here. Like, we'll either be like, that's a cool car. If you have a problem, if we can help you. Or like, people even go the next step and like go out and find like completely rusted, maybe not like still. If they know what they're doing, they're like, oh yeah, we can fix this. And like, there's this whole other side of cars that's like restoration, because those cars are old enough now to where they can go through it. They've been through stuff, or can go through stuff, and then there's car shows, car meets, like, and each of those can work for like each generation. Like car shows, not that our generation doesn't go to those, because they do, but car shows can also work for like a lot of like classic car owners can bring their cars, get all together in one big room, and show off their cars, look at other people's cars, talk to other people, because they'll be like, oh, you know what you're talking about, or I don't know what I'm talking about, you do, and you're willing to help or inform me, help me, like not just full on become a teacher, but just be a kind person and help. But then also like car meets are kind of more like our generation, because it's like this whole like, I don't know, that might just be weird bashing on my own generation, but our generation can't. A lot of people can't stand still. So like car meets are on the move. Like you're all like driving. So like you're driving, and then like looking at other people's cars, and because like car shows can do that, but most car shows kind of are don't touch the car, look at it, depending on whatever they decide. I don't know if that's the person or the people who own the big building that they're in, but like you can hear each other's cars. You can like see how fast people's cars are. Like you can like race. You can put your car up against them and see how you do, and like you get a little more to it, and like that's like I just like that cars do that, even regardless of if it's an old car or not. Like cars, new and old, can bring everyone together, and like it's a very big thing, and it's just kind of very weird how all of this funnels down to that Forza is doing this as well, even though it's all like a digital
It's a different
video game.
appreciation.
It's a it's like the it's like it's kind of like, again, for our generation,
another group that likes cars. Yeah.
Like they're like, like I can't with the car shows, car meets. I don't have a car to get to there, or like
I don't have friends.
These like, I don't have friends. Sad story, but true. Again, like maybe some car shows, they cost money. Can't drive there. They're not near you. This Forza game, what's the word? Universal. Like I mean, okay, obviously you do need money, so that's a whole spiel. But like, it's more accessible. Sure, it does still cost money, but it's more accessible. Right. Like if it's out of your state, even if you could, like you're like it's not near me whatsoever. Yeah. Like it's accessible to everyone, and so it's a funnel for people to get the things I was talking about: car shows, car meets, car derbies, drag races. There's so many things that people have done with cars that are just kind of universal for everyone to enjoy. They've brought a lot of entertainment. Not only like making things easier, more convenient, like you being able to do this. It also has just brought tons of entertainment, whether it's movies or games or physical events. And it's just kind of crazy.
It all goes down to the appreciation for a car.
Where it can all start for you.
Yeah.
Because it's like a big tree.
Yeah.
You start on a little branch, and then you can make your way to the big tree, make your way to bigger branches, and then soon enough,
you're on a total different plane of the tree, yeah. Where you were looking at, steering's cool, and now you're like, holy crap, drag races? This is amazing,
Yeah, if it's a thing for you, there's just so many things that will continue your interest, depending on what you like. Because there's literally so many things that there can literally be something for everybody. 4 wheels and some heavy metal can bring people together, families together, friends together, like everything together. Like it sounds so weird that, like I just said, metal can do that. Metal,
just an object. But even we talk, it's more.
It is more than that, but like I guess, but not trying to degrade that. But if you think that's what a car is,
it is. It is just metal, plastic, and leather, and
all that fun stuff.
Think of it also in this way: cars about, and I don't know if this applies to anyone in your family, Jacob, but my dad's. He works for just a simple part, well, maybe not simple, but important part in cars, which helps bring food to my family.
Right.
So that's another aspect of that appreciation and to cars, and I guess let's bring that back to Forza and all that.
Oh yes, that's what we were talking about. I almost forgot.
That appreciation just helps you understand and to be able to put that into a video game, that sense of community and the entertainment, but digitalized and
for sure,
spread across distances. I think that's great.
I think it's great that even though there's different communities, different people with the cars, no one has to say, like, I appreciate cars, Everyone knows that when it comes to those kind of car meets. Everyone. Deep down, it's just the soul of that. It's just the core of the whole community. that everyone does, and that even if you have totally separate opinions on cars and, whether if you like new cars or old cars or sedans, SUVs, everyday cars, everyone just they all know that they have an appreciation of cars. No one needs to say that. No one needs to make it clear for anybody because just it's a known fact for everybody. And I think that's a huge aspect that Forza kind of brings to, is that everyone who plays has an appreciation for cars. And whether it's a massive appreciation or a little appreciation, it's the curiosity that brings it to the game.
It can get you started.
For sure. And that did it for me.
Appreciate it, and you can go to start it.
Because I never had a huge interest. In fact, I told my mom a few times, I was like, I'm so glad I'm, like not like the other kids and guys that are obsessed with cars and that's all I can think about. But I now see there's nothing wrong with that. And thinking about cars and thinking about what they have brought me in my life, and that they're machines, that they're tools that help with a lot of things, bring food and make friendships, joy rides with the family. It's huge, and that's another reason I feel like just a tiny part that everyone also plays Forza is that it's that little excitement from Dad coming home with a meal, or a road trip you remembered in your old station wagon.
And even him coming home, because, you can, cars, James kind of made me think about this, is, you could walk to work, bike to work, and, that's great. But, are kind of safer in a car. You can get home safely.
Yeah,
you can travel great distances.
And there's just little piece that...
And it made me just think that I feel like, kind of like what you said, regardless of your opinions, I feel like you should appreciate cars for what, like he said, they bring meals. They get people to places safely. They have a whole nother,
aspect to be appreciated for, yeah.
And sure, they have problems, the emissions thing. Everything has, everything has problems.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that they can't be fixed.
For sure, and it's definitely a fun worldview to see. It's not that you want to do harm; it's that you want to enjoy something.
Yeah, cause that's what a game is meant, is to kind of take you away from. There's lots of things happening every day, every hour that not all of it's amazing, and there's other things, but just games in general are meant to kind of, maybe it sounds bad, but distract you, take you away from it. Because, it's not good for you to just constantly have your head under the barrel trying to catch apples that aren't good apples.
Right.
You need to take your head out of the water. That's how the game works. Of life.
You gotta breathe.
You gotta breathe. That's you gotta take yourself away from it. And maybe it sounds weird because some people have their opinions of games. And it's that's just totally a game,
fine, yeah.
Or it's bad for you, but they can have that effect.
And for sure, and I think just to go back and answer the question, why do people put the idea I want to play this game, and I think. It would be smart if we all answered this personally, but just kind of for me, it's the deep down, just this love for this tool that was, created, and you want to experience something that you'll never experience ever, maybe, sure, you might be able to afford this Nissan or Subaru, but maybe, the expensive 50 million cars, $50 million cars, that's something you can't really, not everyone is going to experience.
Yeah.
And you get on because you want to be with friends, you want to have that joy and distraction. And again, it sounds like a bad thing, but it's in wholeheartedly, it's just this moment where you want to be happy with the cars, with your friends, and with this mutual agreement that you both, or, we all like cars, and, it's you know, it just brings you together and makes you just happy. And I think ultimately people play Forza to be happy with friends and to really just share that appreciation of cars.
The reason I play Forza is to be free. It frees me from all the stresses and worries, and that goes with a lot of games, but Forza especially is a really good one for that aspect, especially as I know for a fact that my life is I'm gonna get hit with by a truck of responsibility pretty soon here.
No, don't bring
So-
cars and pick one of the others, like a train.
Yeah.
or a
Oh,
boat.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll be hit with a boat of worries.
A boat of worries.
But Forza is a good way my world's limitless, other than the ground, the wheels, I guess.
Yeah, if we're answering this question personally, I play Forza because I have paid too much. I've put too much money into it to where
Porter sold his soul to Forza.
It's a
Can't go back.
it's a very real life thing. You're like, oh, I put too much money into this. I can't, I bought this really expensive food. I can't just throw it away. I bought this really expensive thing. I can't just throw it away. And I've been buying the games, but also just buying any extra DLC just because I've wanted to just get my hands on everything. So,
But that's because you appreciate it.
yeah, that's because I want to, regardless of if it's gonna teach me about the car or doing it, just like getting to drive these cars and stuff. Kind of like what we've all said is like getting to drive a car that we may or may not get to drive in real life, depending on you. But like,
Get hit with a boat of
a
responsibilities.
boat of responsibilities on top of the boat of worry. There's two boats. It's a double-decker boat. Boom. Hit you. Eventually will hit you. But yeah, like, and I honestly, I have my other reasons, but they're basically the same as what you guys have said, is I want to drive something that I can, drive in real life, or I want to give my appreciation. But if personally to me, it is literally because I have paid a lot of money to do these things, and that's not like I don't know that I'm not trying to make it sound like it's that's really the only reason I'm here, because there are those other
I don't want to be here.
There are those other reasons. It's just I don't want to just
Yeah,
be a broken record, repeat everyone. But that's like just
that's fair. So this has been It's Just a Game podcast. I'm Jacob, the host, and Porter and James as my co-hosts. And thank you for listening. And